Hello again, it's 12:37, make a start for today's webinar. Just turn my webcam on so hopefully you can see me okay now. I'm Sarah Harper, I look after the events here at IPSE, and today we're delighted to welcome back Luann Wise. Luann, I can invite you to turn your webcam on. Hello Luann, hi, good to have you back again with us today. Luann has so much experience around social media, and I'm sure she'll go through a bit about that as well. But she's going to be guiding us through social media for your business and looking back over 2021 and also looking ahead to 2022. And we're also going to have monthly webinars actually with Luann and one of her colleagues in the new year as well. So we'll go through some of those at the end of today's webinar, just some dates for you to put into your diaries if anyone wants to join those. But for today's webinar, if you have any questions for Luann, please feel free to use the questions box. Just pop your question in there and Luann will go through those towards the end of today's webinar. But for now, Luann, I'll turn my webcam off and I'll hand it over to you to take it from here.
Great, thank you, Sarah. And it's good to be back doing a webinar for IPSE. And Sarah and I, before we started, recalled that just as I was about to start the review of 2020, Google crashed completely, sending lots of people down and not knowing what to do for the day. So hopefully we're going to be okay for today. I will share that I'm going to talk quite fast because I've got a lot to get through, because the world of social media does change very quickly, as we know, but we will be sharing a copy of the recording with you. Hello if you're watching live or if you are watching it on the recording, and I'm also really happy to share the slides with you as well. So don't worry about scribbling notes as we go, you can get a copy of them afterwards. If we haven't met before, good to meet you. I'll do a very brief introduction. This was on a sunnier day when I was able to sit outside in my garden, and my cat does like to either gate crash a webinar or gate crash photos. This is me. My name is Luann Wise. I'd love to connect with you. Look me up. You can find my website, luannwise.co.uk. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I've been a marketer for over 20 years now, working in advertising agencies, working client side as a marketing manager, and I've just recently celebrated my 10 years in a consultancy role, and you may have seen the video interview that I did with IPSE for that. I'm chartered, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and day to day in my consultancy, I have a really great mix of working with B2B and B2C clients, supporting clients on marketing planning with social media, which is my specialism. I currently work with university, manufacturer, law firm, household cleaning product, and also have a great mix of not only being hands-on, advising, working with clients, but teaching and training as well. I am a LinkedIn Learning course instructor. If you have a premium LinkedIn account, you would be able to access their online learning library of courses. I've got marketing and social media courses in there. I'm also a lead trainer for Facebook and Instagram. 5 years ago, I published my first book, Relax, It's Only Social Media, and I recently committed that that is my project for 2022. I'm currently rewriting the book, writing version 2, updating it. So that is my current project alongside my client and teaching work. And I'm really proud to be an ambassador for IPSE as well. I've been in this world for a long time and love to share my experiences and thoughts with other freelancers. So to dive straight in, I am talking about social media updates from this year to share with you. I have reported in my weekly email newsletters, more on that in a moment, over 660 updates this year. I'm not going through all of those in 30 minutes. I've summarized them for you, and I'll show you where you can find all of them if you want to have a look at them later. But just to start with some stats, love to share stats. If you ever need any social media stats for your own planning, for planning work that you're doing for clients, meetings, etc., my go-to resource is this report from Hootsuite and We Are Social. It can be found at datareportal.com. They release this annually, so a new one will be out in January, mid-January, and it's also updated quarterly. So the stats I'm showing with you now are from October, the most recent stats. This is a 300-page slide deck. I'm only going to share a couple of them with you today, but if you need any stats around social media platforms, demographics, country by country breakdown, internet uses, this is the go-to report that I would recommend. As of October 2021, 57.6% of the global population counts themselves as an active social media user. That's a significant number, and is growing all the time, has grown significantly through the last 2 years and the pandemic, but would have grown anyway. Naturally, people are joining these platforms all of the time. In terms of these active social media users, growing average amount of time per day. Sometimes it goes up by quarter, sometimes it goes down, but it kind of sticks around the 2.5 hour mark of the amount of time people spend per day using social media. My average is slightly higher than that because this is what I do for a living and spend my time on. Have a look at your own screen time. Hopefully it will go down over the Christmas period, but 2.5 hours a day is how long people are interacting on these platforms. Many people are doing that on a mobile. And also useful to know is that figure on the right hand side, the red circle, that the average number of platforms used each month per internet user is 6.7. So people are using more than one social media platform. Even the platforms themselves are using each other's platforms. I was reading a latest news piece just yesterday that LinkedIn have launched a TikTok campaign to support young people early in their careers. It's important to note that people do use different platforms for different reasons. Sometimes some for news, some for entertainment, some for business purposes. You will find your audience, hopefully, on one of them. The challenge is trying to do everything, and I wouldn't recommend you do try and do everything. You choose the platforms that you are most likely to find your audience or find the information and the inspiration that you're looking for. As I said, there's many reasons we use social media, and this report covers some of these. You may not be able to read it on screen right now, but a real mixture of social media use, from at the top, staying in touch with friends and family. As we move down, reading news stories, seeing what's being talked about, finding products to purchase, watching live streams, posting about your life is near the bottom, watching, following sports and influencers. Lots of different reasons that this is a go-to comms channel. And probably not surprising, but this is my last stat sheet from this report, is that the world's most used social media platform, so this is active users, is still Facebook. Facebook is still the most used. YouTube is up there underneath as a video platform, and YouTube have made a number of changes this year. I'm not going to go into YouTube changes within the half an hour, but interesting to recognize that we now have YouTube Shorts. Advertising has changed. YouTube is still a platform where people are going to for content. WhatsApp, Instagram are on there, Messenger as well. LinkedIn doesn't actually show on this chart. Remember, this is active users. Twitter is on there. LinkedIn has about 700 million users. We don't know how many of those are active at the moment, but they are actually about to lose about 50 million of their users because they have taken the decision to close down in China due to data government regulations and limitations, and they are just about to launch a jobs-only platform in China. So LinkedIn is still very much used, even though it doesn't appear on this chart, very much for B2B networking as well. In terms of 2021 and what's happened, you probably won't be surprised to hear that TikTok is the most downloaded app. It has been for many months now, at the top of the charts in terms of downloads. And just a couple of months ago, there was some more research out to say that people were viewing more videos or spending more time watching videos on TikTok than they were on YouTube. So its use did accelerate through the lockdowns, but it certainly seems to be a platform that has launched quite recently in social media terms, but is here to stay. So when I get to the end of the presentation and start talking about predictions, further use, particularly by businesses, of TikTok is going to be high above them. Brands really are starting to kind of ask about this platform now. So I said I've shared over 660 social media changes this year. I know it's a challenge to keep up with them, and you don't need to worry about quite how many changes there has been. In fact, I launched a new website in September to curate all of these changes that I read about from the various newsrooms and other platforms together, along with all of the apps, tools, data insight, resources, data reportal being one of them that I recommend. So I know that I needed a single point of information for all the changes to social media news. I couldn't find a single point, so I created one. It's called the Lighthouse Social, so you're very welcome to check out this website at any time, follow the accounts on social media where the news is being shared, and to subscribe to a weekly news update as well. There are lots of social media platforms. We can't do them all. So the changes that I'm about to go through, I'm focusing on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You will find on the Lighthouse that there's news for Pinterest and TikTok as well. So I'm just going to summarize the top changes to the platforms. If you have questions about them, want me to dive deeper into them at the end of the session, then just pop a question in the chat or find me and send me a message. LinkedIn, B2B platform, as I said, they've made a number of changes, some in terms of like the setup of your profile and some of features that you can use as a user. The jobs market has changed significantly. It's always been changing anyway, but LinkedIn have really supported this and how people may be using their profiles to find a new job or actually to be hiring people as well. And you may have seen when you look at people's profiles, sometimes it has a green semicircle on it for open to work because they're looking for a job, or purple, you know, I'm hiring. You can use that on your own profiles or look out for it if you're in either of these situations. Video use has been increasing, not just on YouTube and TikTok, but across all the platforms as well. You can add now a video cover story to your LinkedIn personal profile. I haven't actually done this yet. It's on my Christmas New Year action list, but this is a really nice way to kind of, if people come to your profile, click on it, you would be able to kind of introduce yourself and say what you do and how you help. A small feature that you may find useful to add to your own LinkedIn profile or to look out for on others is that there is now a specific field if you want to add your pronouns. I am she, her. There is that opportunity. Previously, some people were putting that in the last name field. Creator mode is probably the biggest change that you might want to be aware of in terms of LinkedIn, and that is that you have the opportunity to change your profile to something called creator mode. That opens up a couple of opportunities for you in terms of being able to add underneath your headline at the top a number of hashtags that kind of say, Joanne talks about hashtag social media marketing, hashtag LinkedIn, so that people can see what your conversations are going to be about on LinkedIn. It also will change your default from connect to follow. Without going into lessons on every platform in this session, basically connection is a two-way exchange. We exchange a virtual business card. We are connected. We would both see each other's content in our news feeds. Following is a one-way process. You can invite people to follow you without you needing to accept that and without you needing to kind of respond and seeing their information in return. It can build your audiences a lot quicker. I've used the follow as a default for many years because I'm a LinkedIn Learning course instructor, but you also may find people doing that. Chief execs may do it if they have very large followings. Some academics will do it as well so that their students can follow them, but they don't need to reciprocate it back. Newsletters has been a feature that's been rolling out on LinkedIn for some time, but quite limited. But if you have creator mode, you should now get access to LinkedIn newsletters. And you may have seen a flurry of notifications with people asking you to subscribe to their newsletters. They very much look like an article, a long form post on LinkedIn. So there's not a huge amount of functionality around a newsletter. The difference is that people can subscribe to it, which means that it will push it into their email inbox. So it wouldn't just be visible on LinkedIn, it would go into their email inbox, and you need to go in and create your newsletter. This is a great feature. I've used it with some clients as a monthly roundup kind of activity from posts that have been popular throughout the month. If you already have an email newsletter, for example, I wouldn't advise necessarily to switch it over to a LinkedIn newsletter. Perhaps find a different reason to do a newsletter on LinkedIn, because you don't get the data. You can see who has subscribed, but you don't get those email addresses, which are a very important asset to your business. The data stays within LinkedIn for your newsletters. Going live on LinkedIn has been a feature that again has been rolling out for some time, has been limited, is now part of creator mode as well. You would be able to go live on your LinkedIn profile, perhaps do an interview, a discussion with someone. That's a useful feature. LinkedIn have really been pushing their events section. If you are involved in any events that has a business audience, I would recommend using that feature. You may be spotting invites, people inviting you to their event on LinkedIn as well, which is really just a kind of sign up page, a place to have discussions about an event. You can't necessarily see the event happening on LinkedIn unless you're going live on LinkedIn, and then the two integrate. If you are involved with company pages and for your own business as a freelancer consultant, you may not. I advise, set up a company page, but if your business is just you probably don't need to touch your company page thereafter. I would be using a company page if I'm working with a larger organization. They need to use it as a content hub where the marketing team post, and then the employees of the organization can share that content out to their own networks. But as a company page administrator for larger organizations, LinkedIn has given you more tools this year, both in terms of insights, notifications, data, and also the option to post long form on there. Previously, it was quite limited to a short post. You could only do articles, blogs to effect on personal profiles. You can now do those on a company page. The good news is for freelancers and contractors is that LinkedIn has specifically given us some new features this year. I've got some links on the next slide so you can have a look at them after the session. They've removed things as well. So stories as that social media feature that disappears after 24 hours. LinkedIn tried it, they removed it. They may be working on something else. One of the biggest trends from 2021 has been audio as well. You may have heard of Clubhouse as an audio only platform. It took off very early this year, perhaps because we were in lockdown and people wanted to have more conversations with people when they were at home. When a feature like that becomes popular, the other platforms start adding it themselves, and LinkedIn are still working on that. For all the amends to LinkedIn, you can go to the news category on the Lighthouse Social, but these are the 3 headlines that I've pulled out specifically for freelancers and contractors. You can add reviews and ratings on your profile against your services. There is new freelancer connection tools and a freelance marketplace. That started in the US, I think is still rolling out, the freelance marketplace, but undoubtedly it will roll out. So there's some really nice specific features now that can help us when we're running our own business. LinkedIn. Let's have a look at Twitter. Twitter's been interesting this year in that they've been really active. And just to run down to the bottom point on this slide is that their founder, Jack Dorsey, this month stepped down, has been replaced by their previous operations technical officer, Parag Agarwal, and he has made early indications that he wants Twitter to be moving quickly with changes. They've made a number of changes this year. I'm just going to run through these. Some useful, some you may not even notice. there is now a Twitter for professionals, in that if you have a Twitter account that is clearly a business person professional profile, i.e. not a logo or not a fake account for a dog or something like that, clearly a person using a Twitter account, you can change that to a professional profile. It's in the settings. I did mine a few weeks ago, haven't noticed anything differently so far, but it gives you a couple of extra fields in the bio to include, I think, your website address and some other information. I mentioned that audio feature that LinkedIn is working on, that Clubhouse made popular. Twitter have really taken this on board and pushed this year. It's called Twitter Spaces. You may see it along the top of your app. It is where people can host a space, invite you to a space, you can join a space, audio only conversations, you don't need to be on screens. And they've been investing a lot in that in terms of their time and adding new features. So if I'd have listed out all of the 600 changes, I'd have been able to group them under a lot of these headings. They've been trying to create levels of users on Twitter, and one of those options is super follows, which actually meant that you could charge your followers to be a super follower to get access to different types of content on your Twitter account. I haven't actually seen that in use. A bit like the newsletter feature on LinkedIn, other platforms are again taking this idea of kind of subscriptions and newsletters on board. Twitter have launched a premium subscription service called Twitter Blue. They are pushing newsletters as one of the acquisitions they've made this year by a company called Review. You may spot that you can sign up to people's newsletters on Twitter. It would then come to your email inbox, so it is connected. I'm not sure whether they collect or give you access to email addresses, but I've certainly seen a few people using Review as their newsletter platform and coming into the email inbox and getting a significant number of sign-ups by being able to use their Twitter account. They also added a nice tipping feature, so you could tip someone that you follow on Twitter if you found their content useful. I'm not sure you would do this as a day-to-day activity on Twitter, but certainly could be something that would be used by charities and for fundraising at some point. A key theme from this year, and to a certain extent previous years, but certainly being ramped up across the platforms this year, is online shopping, social commerce within the platforms, and also over the last few weeks in the run up to Black Friday and Christmas, live stream as well. So maybe showing your age, but going back to QVC and online shopping and actually being able to kind of demo your products and services and then buy straight from the social media platforms, something to watch. Twitter also had a go at stories, and like LinkedIn, they removed them. On Twitter, they were called fleets, a fleeting moment, and then they disappeared. But they've focused their efforts a lot more on spaces and audio and features within that. Moving on to Instagram, said there was a lot to get through. Interesting announcements by Adam Masuri, the head of Instagram this year, and one of those is that he said Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app. It's probably what we thought Instagram was all about, was sharing photos, but not surprisingly, because of the growth of TikTok as a platform, the way of taking this on, remembering that Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same organization, now Meta, I'll come on to shortly. This Instagram has taken on TikTok, and they've done that by introducing their feature called Reels. I love Reels. I love watching them. They're in my feed. That's my downtime. I could probably spend 2 hours, 24 minutes, my screen time watching Reels in the evening. They're entertaining. They are proving to be strong on ads as well as an ad placement option, if that's something you're doing. But they're also taking on the social commerce world as well. You can now shop in Reels. There will be live stream shopping in Reels as well. The whole world of influencer marketing is still really big on Instagram. Other platforms too, but very prevalent. You see it on Instagram, people collaborating, and there's been some new features for that in terms of being able to actually really highlight that you're partnering with someone, both on your feed posts and in Reels as well. A big change recently. There used to be the magic number of 10,000 to get to so that you could have a swipe up link in your Instagram stories. That was removed probably about 2 months ago now. No longer a 10,000 magic figure. We now have link stickers. Anyone should be able to add a link sticker into their Instagram story to drive traffic to your website. In terms of video as an important kind of format of content, not only is it Reels, Instagram retired their Instagram TV brand. If you remember, you know, if your video was a certain length, it could go in the feed. If it was too long, it needed to go on Instagram TV. Lots of different options. They have now merged everything into their feed posts into a single format, which is a lot easier. Stories as a feature, they're now testing out going to 60 seconds. So stories getting longer. Interesting to see how the engagement and the use of stories is going to compete to a certain extent with Reels over the next 12 months. I think that's an area to watch and to see how a longer format does. Traditionally, Instagram's always been on the app. They have added new features this year to actually be able to do more work directly on the platform, not using a third-party tool to upload videos and photos. The app, the insights within Instagram, remember you have to upgrade your Instagram account to a professional account to get insights. Just means you need to connect it with a Facebook page. Doesn't change any other functionality, but does give you lots of data around times of day, your followers, where they are, their age, their gender, and what's being most engaged with. To get those stats, you need that premium professional account, and they've extended the time period from 30 days to 60 days, which is great. One underlying theme for social media, not just this year, but in previous years as well, has been around mental health. Misinformation, fake news, mental health have kind of been at the core of issues that the platforms need to address, and they do address these in many different ways. Particularly for younger users, Instagram has introduced a feature just over the last few weeks around prompting you to take a break from scrolling. So there is that feature on there as well. Done LinkedIn, done Twitter, I've done Instagram. Let's look at Facebook. Doesn't look like there's been many changes, but again, I've grouped all the changes from this year under some key headings. If you are advertising on these platforms, there's always changes to advertising, but some specific ones that you may have encountered or just need to be aware of is that there has been changes to ad targeting. They are removing some of the more political, health-related issues from their targeting options. Also, there has been quite a battle between Facebook and Apple over restrictions, over kind of cookie dropping and permissions for ads, and that has had some impact on advertising. A key theme for this year, it's the first time you've seen this word, I think, on the slide deck under Facebook, but actually applies to all of the platforms, is creators. Creator mode, sorry, we had on LinkedIn, but you'll see the platforms now talking about tools for creators, opportunities for creators, funding for creators as well. Facebook is creating monetization tools so that you can actually start to make some money if you're a big Facebook user. They're seeing this as a way of drawing more people to the platform, and newsletters is one of those features. Just in the last week, Facebook is testing a professional mode for creator profiles. So this is almost a way, I know people find it quite challenging of having to use their personal profile for work, and how that all kind of ties in together, and keeping your friends and family from work. They are creating and testing out a work mode for creator profiles, which is definitely something to watch out over the next few months. Reels have been rolled out from Instagram to Facebook. Groups continue to be a great feature for peer-to-peer conversations, communities, niche audiences, closed groups. I'm in many, either for my local area or hobbies or other people that do what I do. And for group owners, they have been rolling out lots of new features, tools, some privacy, some controls, some being kind of able to award your most active members of your group. So if you're owning a group, you'll have seen a lot of new features this year. Again, Facebook helping smaller businesses, but larger businesses as well. A real push around e-commerce, just about to roll out or have rolled out in the US. I think shopping in groups as well could be great for relevant communities. They've been working on a version of Clubhouse called Audio Rooms, and currently rolling out something to look out for is a new Facebook page experience. Some people are suggesting you don't upgrade to this just yet, even if you've got the opportunity. It might be something to just kind of watch and observe. There is some new features of the page experience around layout, which you may like. There's also some features that kind of being moved to Creator Studio, such as scheduling an event. So there's always some things we like about change and some things we don't like. So watch and see what's happening when you get the opportunity for the new Facebook page experience. In terms of predictions for 2022, Mark Zuckerberg actually kind of led this a few weeks ago by his big announcement and his big change to create an umbrella for his group of apps called Meta. So the apps themselves are not changing. The business is now called Meta. Facebook is an app, Instagram is an app, WhatsApp is an app, Facebook Messenger. He is very heavily focused on the metaverse, a virtual world in which users represented by an avatar can shop, socialize, take part in leisure activities and learn. If this is going to be the founder's focus, we can expect a lot to happen in the metaverse, I think, in 2022. If you want to find out more, you can read the founder's letter about introducing this. There's a link there. And I would highly recommend you follow Mark Zuckerberg on Facebook, because that's where he shares what he's working on, what he's interested in, and also his town hall internal meetings, often broadcast live, or there's a roundup on his posts. So always great to kind of get things straight from him. When I did this presentation last year, didn't do it live because of Google crashing. I had to pre-record it, but I checked back my notes, and my predictions for 2021 were around e-commerce growing, that the battle for misinformation would continue, and it's particularly continued this year around politics, elections and vaccines. I said video would be important, and actually I think it's been more important than I would have predicted, particularly around Reels and TikToks and YouTube Shorts. I said that stories would be more active than feeds. I think that's true, but I think Reels and the short form video have really taken that over even more than stories versus the feed. The answer for any of those for what should you be looking at would be to test, to trial, to learn. I did state a wish over the past 2 years actually on my predictions that I wanted LinkedIn to reinvigorate and add new features to their groups, just as Facebook have done. They haven't done it yet, so I'm going to keep that on my wish list for 2022. There are lots of predictions happening, lots of reports coming out, but I wanted to highlight to you this one from Hootsuite, the social media management platform. I love their annual predictions and their roundups. So I thought I'd share their 5 predictions for you, which is the key to unlocking online communities is in the hands of digital creators. So I've just mentioned creators, so we can see that happening even more. That marketers will be spending more on social ads next year. Probably not surprising, because advertising is how Facebook, Instagram, they make their money through advertising. But I do think we'll see a shift from Facebook ad spend, Facebook platform ad spend, over to TikTok. I like this third one around social is kind of maturing out of the marketing department. It is going to expand beyond marketing. So anyone working with corporates and larger organizations, it's now not just a marketing tool. We do need to get colleagues, other team members, other departments engaged in this as well. It's time. The heart of the post-pandemic shopping experience will be social media. those opportunities for social commerce, shopping straight from a post, being able to tag your products, live shopping as well. And then social media being the front line for customer service. This is a really interesting one, how I've been looking at this area. I run some training courses for the Call Centre Management Association on specifically on customer service topics. And the conversations I've been having with companies, with contact centres running large social customer service teams are around increasing volumes of messages, particularly through Facebook and Twitter, the expectations of faster responses, what's in the public domain, what needs to be taken into private domain, very important, and I think will also increase as a result of the social commerce shopping as well. The kind of two will go hand in hand. There's lots of prediction reports out at the moment. Have a read, make your own, see what you think is going to impact you, but also do look out for trend reports. Just one, it was actually shared last night, this morning, from Instagram. They have released a trends report about their cultural predictions for next year. This is particularly around Gen Z and what they think they're going to be interested in, looking at, buying. There's a lot of kind of fashion trends in there, but do have a look. Google trend report for your industry or changing behavior patterns. Couple these trend reports with the social media platform changes and the data that we looked at the beginning of the session, and that will really help your planning going forward. But as much as I talk about changes, and I read all the changes and share all the changes, I just want to finish with this slide to hopefully reassure you that you don't need to lose sleep over it and worry about every minor change that happens. We need to stay focused on our marketing priorities and not get distracted by every shiny new thing out there. Focus on your business plan, your marketing objectives, get them from your clients if you need to. Have one foot in the future, what's happening with TikTok, what's happening with the platforms and new features, but don't think that you need to implement or understand all of these features as they crop up every day and every week. So it's almost 1:10. I've got through that, as I said, at quite a pace. I'll switch my webcam and slides off in a minute, but just if you could just take a quick picture of that with your phones to give us some feedback, and then we can move on to some questions if there is any. Okay, I'm going to stop showing my screen. There, do we have any questions? Any chat or any questions? If anyone's looking at TikTok for their business, because I keep hearing about it or hearing these kind of presentations, as Sarah said, we'll share the dates with you because I do actually co-host a monthly trends data changes update. One of the biggest questions is right now, do I need to be on TikTok? Do I need to be using TikTok? And there's a couple of things here. Is one, no, you don't have to be. So don't worry if it's kind of you feel that there's something else you're going to be needing to do or to look at. You can go to social media platforms like TikTok, like Pinterest, to just watch, learn, see what's going on, see how other people are using it. You don't have to always dive straight in and start using them yourself. So I would always advise that you kind of watch and learn for a bit anyway. TikTok have built their audiences, have built their platforms. Yes, there's a lot of dancing, but it's not just about dancing or makeup or hair. There is a lot of other activity on there as well. I have to say my favorite TikToker is a guy that is a train spotter. He's just particularly charming and loves what he is doing and has now made it a full-time job, sharing train spotting TikToks. They have a lot of resources. If you go either to the Lighthouse, you'll see that I've linked them under the resources section, or on the TikTok platform itself. They are investing a lot in terms of guides, best practice advice to help businesses get on the platform and to start using it. So maybe something that could be an objective for 2022 to have something to have a look at. So questions coming in now. Is my business's online presence required on every social media platform? No, unless your audience may be on every social media platform, that average of 6.7 accounts per person, but that does, remember, include YouTube, it will include Messenger, it will include WhatsApp. This is a real balance of how much time and resource you need to spend on marketing versus how much resource you have in your business, and focusing. Focus on where you can get the greatest results, where you can find your audience, where you can have the conversations that will lead to new business. I don't think anyone has the time to be on every platform every day and run a business and deliver work as well. So I think it's about doing some research and setting your objectives first and then deciding how social media can help, rather than going, oh, I watched a webinar and I think I need to be on TikTok. What am I going to do on TikTok? Start with your business focus and then go to social media, rather than the other way around. I run a blogging business. Eventually, I'd like to sell my ebook on either TikTok or Facebook. What's your advice? I'm not sure what your blog is about. There are, of course, ways to gather interest in a book, tell people that you've got a book, get people involved in it, through to directly buying the book. I think the thing about having a book, and I'm going through this journey for the second time myself, is kind of not just going, ta-da, here it is, but sharing your journey of writing it as well. So I recently announced, I'm going to be writing my book next year. Again, does anyone want to get involved and read it and help me review it? I will be doing posts going, oh, my book reviewers, we're meeting today, having a focus group. This is what we're doing. So you kind of need to narrate your journey as you are creating the book. But you could absolutely be advertising. You could do events about your book. You could read it aloud. You could do free first chapters, free offers, free templates to go with your book. Lots of options, but I would start with a book. Who's it for? Where are you most likely to find them? And that kind of journey to the end point of buying the book as well. Any quick advice for freelancers, content creators? What is key for 2022 and our clients and businesses? We all freelance in different ways with different clients in different industries, sectors, different services. So quite a broad question. I would say, almost going back to my last point about the blog, well, this isn't just about you. You are talking to people and you want people to buy from you. I think the key to what content you need is storytelling. Show and tell people what you're doing, what you're working on. I will be talking about events I'm hosting or papers I'm working on, as I said. So it's almost that show up consistently, drip feed, tell people what you're doing, what you're working on, so that they will kind of go, oh, I could do with some of that, or this person's showing up in my feed all the time and this is what they do. I need that soon, and recognize it. So I would say story tell, let people know what you're doing, what you're working on. Don't go in for hard sells. People aren't ready for that. They need to get to know, like, and trust you first. The biggest piece of advice would be to show up consistently. Just be there all the time in front of people so they know who you are, what you do, who you help, and make them want to work with you. It is 1:15, and Sarah, I think I've been through the questions.
That's great. Thank you very much, Luann. That was really informative. It was really interesting. I learned a bit about kind of the newsletters and the stories in particular, and how some platforms are taking them away and other platforms are bringing them in, and more concentration on the newsletter side of things, which I hadn't realised or appreciated before. I guess that's kind of competing with the big email campaign platforms out there.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's good if you haven't got a newsletter already. You could get started and build your audience if you've already got an audience on social media. Would I advise to move if you're already on a MailChimp, Constant Contact, Aweber to social media, perhaps not. I think again, it's kind of that there's some functionality here. Does it work for me? Rather than the day everyone got, you know, creator mode, suddenly there was like 20 new newsletters out there. It was a bit much.
Yeah. I can imagine, yeah. And the other thing I picked up as well about the freelance marketplace that you mentioned about LinkedIn developing that. Are there any plans, or do you know kind of when it might come into play, or kind of what it might look like, or anything like that at this stage?
Um, it's obviously started in the US. I'm not sure when it's rolling out, and of course they never roll it out to even an entire country. It can be different users, no even priorities, even if you work for them. Sometimes I think this is going to be a marketplace where, you know, as a freelancer, make sure your profiles are up to date, make sure that you list your services so that you can get found. I think it's going to be kind of one of those search opportunities, you know, hopefully, you know, clients out there will go, I need a freelancer. I know I'll go to LinkedIn and start searching for them.
Yeah.
So I think the way the world of work has changed from it not being full-time in offices, being contract, remote work, you know, it's almost just there's more filters now within LinkedIn for the ways that different people like to work and the way that organizations know they can work with people differently as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know you mentioned then about the monthly webinars as well. So there's a few people online still. So for 1 second, we'll just go through the kind of the dates for the new year. So Luann will be running a monthly webinar with one of her colleagues looking at the updates that are coming up from within that month. So we've got them on the 27th of January, the 24th of February, and the 31st of March. That's the starter for the new year, and we'll add details about that onto the IPSE's website, which is www.ipse.co.uk, and you can register free of charge for those events there. And I must just say, whilst we're here as well, we have at IPSE, we have one other event left for 2021, which is taking place this Thursday, the 16th of December at 12:30. It's with our IPSE's Director of Policy, Andy Chamberlain, and two of his team, Fred Hicks and Joshua Tovey, looking at IR35, COVID, and the economic uncertainty, and kind of reviewing back in 2021 as well. So if you want to sign up to that, please do. Again, details are on our website. But for now, to say thank you so much, Luann. That was great. We will send around a recording of today's webinar. We will send around a copy of your slides as well, Luann, and I'll pull out some of those links within the slides as well, so that everyone's able to kind of easily click onto those, and I'll put them into the email as well. And we'll try and send that out to everyone this afternoon. But for now, thank you, Luann. See you again soon in the new year. And thank you everyone for joining us today, and have a good rest of the day. And if I don't see anyone before, which I probably won't do, but have good Christmases and New Year's as well. And we'll see you back in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.